If it falls out during the thing, I feel like we should just give up on this whole endeavor.
Like quit
Yeah.
podcasting. And
Yep.
everything.
Should I do a clip first? I think that would help it.
Yeah, well, should take tension off.
Try to just do this. Put it right here.
It's pretty hilarious.
Like fucking...
Phone's on silent.
Yeah.
All right, be cool.
Be cool.
Still, I'm gonna just
Fucking
dig
be
into
cool.
your ear like a
Thanks. Thanks.
weirdo. There.
Feels good.
Does it?
Yep.
You might want to give it a little extra poke there. I think it's gonna stay
Yep.
near the top. Right.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, it's Matt.
Now we are familiar.
Dude.
Good. So what we wanted to try to do is get you on the line here, so that you're just ready to go, and then when we're ready for your... We'll start
The audios.
Yeah.
Two. Hey everybody, we're back with Couch Report. This is RJ. Hey, I'm here with Jonathan.
Hey.
And Matt.
Howdy.
You've seen Matt before. This is Jonathan's first, but he's wearing his special Couch Tour t-shirt.
My buddy.
It says Couch Tour All-Star for those who can't see at home. Thanks for joining. Thanks Relix and our producer Jonathan for getting this going. This is our third Couch Report. We first want to say send us questions, thoughts via Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Our friend Brian Brinkman, who runs the Beyond the Pond podcast, is helping us out and monitoring and listening and paying attention to you, and he loves you all. Guys, what's up?
Not much, hanging out, ready to watch some fish, man.
We're here.
Pretty excited after last night.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
So Atlanta won. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot to talk about, including we have a contest winner, which Jonathan's going to talk about later. We really appreciate you guys checking us out. We're having fun with this. Please, like I said, send us questions, feedback, thoughts. Just so you know, Couch Report is done by Osiris in partnership with Relix Magazine. Matt, Jonathan, and I are all with HF Pod.
That's
Helping
correct.
Friendly Podcast. If you haven't heard of it, we talk about fish. We always drink a local beer, at least in the 3 times we've done this. So Jonathan provided the beer today. Do you want to tell us what this is?
What is this? Oh yeah, this is Kindred Spirit Brewing. They're from Virginia. I think they're Richmond, and this is their Headspace IPA. And can you maybe there you see it? If you can't, well, find it in a store somewhere near. It's pretty good. Skål.
We're gonna do this pre-show for a little while, and then we'll be back at set break and post-show. Send us your couch tour photos. If you have a setup, please send it to us. Just hashtag Couch Report on whatever social media you use. We want to see your awesome setups.
I kind of want to see anybody who is in a bar. So maybe you're not watching this now. Maybe you see this later and send it to us next time. But I want to see some of those like public space viewing situations. Because I've never been to one, and I imagine they're cool.
I haven't. No, I always have the party here, so that's why we're here tonight.
We're in Matt's basement. I know there's one tonight in DC at Mellow Mushroom, I think.
Okay.
Cool.
So, yeah, send us photos. Use hashtag Couch Report. Want to say 2 quick things about Curveball real quick before we get into the discussion. The first is that, as you may have seen on the internet or through email, Curveball's sold out. There is a way to involved. If you check out the Work Exchange team, you can miss no music and also put in some hours helping out there. Get in, you want to participate, check out workexchangeteam.com/curveball. So, guys, apparently Fish Radio is a thing.
Yes.
Is it a thing as of, what, yesterday, right?
Yes, it's awesome.
Sirius XM, Channel 29. Matt, you listened to the Trey conversation yesterday. Was that the first thing they did?
It was, yeah. So it kicked off at noon with Ask Trey, which I thought was going to be maybe like a little half hour, I'd listen to quickly on my lunch and, move about my day. And it turned into a 6-hour long ordeal. Kept me listening all day. I otherwise wouldn't have been listening to it.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a 5-question thing.
It was no. So I think it was about 12 or 13 questions.
With music.
Really, really amazing questions from people. Trey was really open about answering stuff. There were some hilarious answers. I thought one of the highlights was somebody asked, what would you tell 1983 Trey and 1997 Trey? And he said he'd go back and he'd tell 1997 Trey, just say no.
No
way.
way.
Pretty
That's
fun.
great. Amazing.
So, but yeah, I think they're going to replay it a whole bunch. And if you go onto the Sirius app, you can replay it. And if you're not a Sirius subscriber like I wasn't, I think there's actually a deal. If you go to SiriusXM.com/fluffhead. If you're heading up to Watkins, that's going to be a great opportunity to listen to that.
So, Jonathan, you are the person who's talked to me the most about the bunny over the
I
years. Just because you
love
love it.
the
But I
bunny.
think it's because you love regular radio, too.
I like good radio.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I listen to things like WFMU and stuff, streaming out of New York, because I don't live in New York. But the bunny is, it's great. And, they've been doing radio at their festivals ever since Clifford Ball, when it was Ball Radio. And they did it at Lemon Wheel and the Went. One of those, it was called the Badger.
Yeah.
I can't remember which. They did it at Big Cypress, but where they did not broadcast the shows because I think they had some sort of grounding issue and they 86 the broadcasting of the shows or something. And And then at it 15 years ago this week, right? 15. Who was there? It was awesome. That's where we first got the bunny, and ever since at the festivals, it's been the bunny, and they've been doing interesting combinations with live streaming on the internet as well as the radio stuff ever since like Festival 8.
Yeah.
And those of us who haven't been at those have had a nice time listening to it. And I got signed up to get a little bit of the Sirius Space Radio so I can listen to this fish radio in advance before we go. And I'm really excited for the bunny next go around.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They have it's the entire time, like Wednesday to Sunday, and they play all kinds of really cool stuff. It's channel 29 on Sirius, and it is limited run. I think I'm not sure everyone knew that, but it is a limited time thing through the end of Curveball. So check it out, Sirius XM. So guys, should we talk a little bit about Summer Tour?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a summer tour?
There's a summer tour. It's happening right now, and I made a nifty map that you may be able to see. Which also, I'm opening a beer. There's so far, as you can see from the map, there's 6 venues, 11 shows, 4,200 miles, 170,000 tickets if you count the every show being sold out. But they've covered 4,200 miles. Obviously, they went from Tahoe to the Gorge to Bill Graham to the Forum to Austin to Atlanta. So
that's a long way. I really like to at some point hear from somebody who's driven all of this, because that's the way we used to do it, right?
Yeah.
But now people are flying and stuff, and I get that, and I would too. But at some point after this tour, hopefully we can track down somebody who drove it, get them on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's an adventure. That's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles, and they, I think for people who have been sad about Fish not playing the West Coast, they hit a bunch of spots. Whether all those shows were amazing or not, people will debate.
Entirely subjective.
Entirely subjective, except for never mind. We'll get into that later. So guys, in terms of the music, before Atlanta last night, these numbers aren't exactly right, but they are close. We've had 140 songs, probably 145 or 150 now after last night. I don't know how many originals last night that hadn't been played before, but we got about 14 or so jams of 15 plus minutes, and I think now we have 5 jams of 20 plus minutes because there were 2 last night. And only 3 before that across the whole tour. So there's a lot to talk about here. We do have a question from our friend Patrick, which we'll get to, but I guess the first thing is just the kind of, to me, the new songs, right? Like Everything's Right, Soul Planet, other soul songs, everything's kind of evolving with these new songs. Is that, and I think that's kind of a trend. I'm not sure that's new, but I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think it happens every time, right? We talked about this on the Quick Hit the other day, where the new songs they're what Trey and the guys, they get excited about. And they don't usually stretch them to 20 minutes. Yeah. Everything's Right is like so frequently long. I think the shortest one is still longer than 10 minutes.
Yep.
But it's not completely unheard of either. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
I think there's a precedent too for, new material getting stretched out a little bit. Remember, I think it was like maybe the second version ever of when they played that cover Energy, that they took it like 25 minutes long, and Golden Age was the same way. I often wonder if they don't sort of consciously do that to get people interested in the new material. If we had 2 versions of Set Your Soul Free that were just 4 minutes long, maybe people wouldn't be raving about it the way that they are now that we have that masterpiece from Bill Graham.
I just think they're jazzed about these songs, and they're finding something a little different than what they had before. I completely forgot about Energy. I know there are some real fans out there, but that's been desonged. So
they should bring it back.
But I think I need to add Golden Age to my lore picks for the day. Now that you mention it,
I think the trend. I was thinking about the introduction of like Cross-Eyed in '96, right? But that was Halloween. That was like a different thing. But that kind of like kicked off a whole. I think you could go back. I'm not sure that when Down with Disease came on the scene in early '94, they weren't really stretching things out at all. I think Down with Disease was played as like a 5-minute jam until later. I was trying to think of other examples, but even No Men and Blazon in 2015 and Fuego in 2014. Remember those versions of Fuego from like The Man and a couple others in 2014?
Man was awesome. That was
outrageous.
That was the summer of everybody getting a Fuego.
Yeah, everybody got a Fuego.
You get a Fuego. You get a Fuego.
I think everyone gets in Everything's Right this this tour. That might be a good pick for Lure.
Oh,
even though it's like two
locked
shows
in,
since.
dude. Locked in.
So what about Patrick's question, which I've been like just amused by, is the recent trend of them finishing songs after the jams, which I think is mostly Trey, but it's just, to me, it's like entertaining. I don't have anything. I don't,
I think it's cool, and you're right. It might just be mostly Trey, like the Tweezer last night. They were jamming, and then Trey starts playing the Tweezer riff for 5-10 seconds, and then they close out the song and move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does do that. A couple people thought that, maybe a couple people I talked to or read their comments thought that maybe he's pushed it a couple times to finish the song, and whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
I think I mentioned this, I think, on one of the quick hits. I wonder if it's a little bit of the influence of the Trey Trio tour that happened right before this, where he does they're not really going to play one song into another. He's going to kind of try to bring it back to the head and wrap it up each time.
Interesting.
So maybe he was already sort of in that mindset. But the other thing is that in terms of the execution, there was one the other day, I guess Everything's Right from Austin, where people were complaining about the way that it brought it back, and it almost felt like in Trey's mind it was going to be this anthemic kind of soaring landing, like when they come back to the theme of Down with Disease after a really long jam, which can be really powerful, forgetting that they were way up in tempo, and then Fishman brought the tempo back to the regular kind of song, and it was like, oh, it feels like it's dragging down now. So maybe it's not working 100% of the time, but it's cool. I mean, if you can find a way to put a cap on a jam, then that's great, instead of just aimlessly going off.
Well, do you think, because I think Trey sort of hinted at this in the interview on SiriusXM, just of them having so many songs, and it's just like, and obviously they're flubs and Reba or whatever. I mean, do you think that like the finishing songs part is like part of like, for him, like it's like nailing a song?
Yeah, maybe,
like it's like part of the confidence building. Like I can come back to this at the end.
I don't know. Maybe it's a comfort zone thing.
Yeah. I wonder.
Maybe he feels like he has to. Maybe I don't know.
I wonder if maybe he's just looking at Fishnet and he sees the words unfinished a little too often. And he's like, "Oh, what unfinished?"
That's probably it.
I'll finish that by gum.
Yeah.
So I got to add Reba to my pitch now.
The new songs, the finishing jams. So Trey's Sound, we're gonna bring in a special guest in a couple minutes. To talk about that. What about this like song placement? Have you guys noticed anything interesting? I just keep hearing like late second set wedges, but I don't know if there's more to it than just like a couple songs here and there.
I don't think the late wedges is that unusual. I mean, they've been doing it like that for a little while. What I think is fun is there have been a couple shows like last night where they open the show and a couple people quite astutely say, "Whoop, backwards show. We're gonna have an AC/DC bag encore." Because the first tube opener.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple. There've been 2 shows that I think that was easily said about, and last night was one. And I don't remember which night it was before, but I don't think it's that crazy. I like the idea of a more fluid set list, as long as the band is rolling through it and it's not. There've been a couple of shows where they've had to take really long pauses between songs while they're trying to figure out what to play, and those are not. That's not my favorite form of looseness in the set list.
From a Grateful Dead fan.
From a Grateful Dead fan, yeah.
Where they waited for 7 minutes in between every song.
This is a different band.
Cool.
Yeah. Plus they don't have to tune.
Well, question: do you think that the like Down with Disease not being in the opening slot is weird, or maybe not? Maybe
I think it's just for you.
Evolution.
No. I'm a fan of moving songs around and not having them stick in one spot. I mean, there's always going to be songs that feel right in a certain part of the show. But going back to the Grateful Dead thing, like I was always a fan of Bruce Hornsby's theory of like, why did they make every single song have to slot into a particular part of the show? Let's shake things up, you know?
Right.
I mean, just, open with, open the show with Character Zero or something like that. Open the show with Tweet Prize.
Bruce Hornsby never said that.
They should open up with Tweet Prize. Well, we'll get to that.
That was a quote from Bruce Hornsby. Yeah. Hey guys, Coach, we should open with Tweet Prize tonight.
And Jerry said no.
Jerry said, no, man.
Jerry said no.
No.
So we're gonna bring in Ryan from Trey's Guitar Rig to talk about some stuff and to show some clips. I guess let's do that now, and then if there's anything else to talk about with the tour, we can after.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ryan Chechery from Trey'sGuitarRig.com. Ryan, are you there?
I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Really appreciate you giving us some time. Trey's tone has been a hot topic this tour. He made a lot of changes, and if you listen to that Ask Trey segment on Sirius yesterday, I think it was like the first half hour or 40 minutes he was just talking about his guitars and changes that he's made to his tone and everything like that. So we've heard a lot of that from the horse's mouth, but maybe you could help us kind of understand a little bit more tangibly with some examples some of the things that we're hearing. But I wanted to ask you first off, just what's your overall impression of the tour so far?
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting. I think the sound coming from Trey has really been phenomenal, and it seems like, he mentioned during that Ask Trey interview yesterday that, I forget how he described it, but that he's really reached kind of the moment of tonal enlightenment during one that he got the down really well, where he had been adding all these and delay reverb side, and it was creating a lot of kind of noise. And by bringing in these ambicabs that separate out the reverbs and delays into the separate speakers, you're really getting kind of the best of both worlds, where you get this really nice fundamental, a really clean rock and roll sound. And then when he wants to go for the space stuff, it's there for him. He can reach for it and get it. And I think that has kind of opened him up to add a lot more modulation, a lot more delay, a lot more reverb to the sound without sacrificing the fundamental tone. So the sounds that are really seem to be grabbing people's interest, people who are reaching out to me this tour, are these really kind of sludgy, weird, kind of swirly, really kind of out there sounds. And I think he can only pull that off because they've pushed the technology to the point where they have.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think one of the questions that kind of came up on that Ask Trey was something that you had pointed out, which is that he's been going back and forth in terms of the tubes that he's got in his two Comet amps. Maybe you can set us straight there. I think what we were hearing is that, and we talked to Tom Marshall about this a lot on our last report, was that he was kind of switching back and forth between a Fender sound and a Marshall sound. Maybe you can help everybody understand like what that difference sounds like and how they may be familiar with that.
So Trey was mostly, so there's really two different types of
Oh, Ryan, you still there? We might have lost you, man.
Technology.
There's
It's
two
a
different
wonder.
types of...
We're live.
know.
We're live.
Live
Very,
television.
very live.
can you hear me, guys?
Yep, there you are.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying there's two different types of power tubes that have been used in every rock and roll, pretty much amp.
Uh-oh. Looks like we're losing Ryan.
Should we move to the clips and see if he comes back?
Yeah, so maybe, sorry about that, Ryan. Maybe you'll hear and you can chime in if you get to some better coverage. We had a couple of clips that these are things that Ryan had shared with folks on the internet, and we can play them for you now so that we can hopefully help you understand what some of the different effects sound like and whatnot. So let's. Oh. Ryan, we have you. Okay, great. So let's go to the clip.
All right, so that was the first clip. So go ahead if you want to take it to the next one.
Yeah, so let's just dive in straight to the second clip. So this is from I believe the Bill Graham Carini, where the Leslie and the Pog are working. So talk us through what folks can expect to hear on this one, Ryan.
So Leslie again is going to give you that kind of swirling sound. That's going to give you a little bit of a stereo image, more so than you would never hear any kind of stereo image from Trey when he's just using his regular guitar amplifiers. So you're going to get a little bit of that swirl, and then the Pog gives you the Pog. What it does is basically in different octaves. So you have your fundamental tone, and then you can dial in 1 and 2 octaves up and 1 and 2 octaves down. And what it does is basically, it's just like adding harmonics on an organ. So when you combine those added harmonics with the Leslie rotating speaker sound, you get a pretty convincing Hammond B3 emulation.
Okay, great. So let's listen to that from Carini.
Let's go to that. All right, awesome. That Carini was really awesome, by the way. I don't know what any of those words mean, but the effects they're making are...
I used to...
Really good, Carini. And really, this has happened a couple of times on this tour, I feel like, where they're doing these like kind of funkier jams like the Carini. It happened during Tweezer last night, too, where towards the end, you're getting these almost anthemic, like Carlos Santana style, really melodic, almost like composed improvisation, where Trey is just running into these long, sort of interesting and complicated melodies. And I really do think that's back to that fundamental tone that he's getting. He's really able to dial in a very clean, very rock and roll, very anthemic rock sound, a lot of distortion, a lot of focus, even in spite of all those kind of effects that are out there on stage with him.
Excellent. So Ryan, when you're talking about him getting the Hammond B3 effect and the stuff that we were seeing in the Carini, that sort of lends itself to the Trey using his effects sort of as rhythm, right? I mean, as opposed to just driving an awesome shredded guitar jam.
Yeah, so like generally when you're heavy on the modulation effects, particularly the Leslie, I think it's hard to drive that into a really rock and roll sort of anthemic sound. He could do it a little bit with the Univibe, and he does sometimes. Like the Univibe is the What's the Use sound, that kind of swirly sound on What's the Use, and that has a kind of anthemic rock quality to it as well. But the thing about the Leslie is by its nature, because that speaker is spinning around and the microphone is inherently can't be in front of the horn whenever you start a note, you want it with a delayed attack. So you don't hear the pick attack on the guitar every time, which lends, it's a completely different sound. It gives it a little more ethereal, a little more spacious kind of vibe, and I think it doesn't lend itself as much to those big rock sounds. Now tell that to Trey, and he'll probably prove you wrong.
Right on. That's helpful.
Excellent.
Second set tonight, you'll get there.
Yes.
But that's a helpful explanation, because I think a lot of people have been like not disappointed, but anticipating the Trey shredding, right? At some time, in some points, and we haven't.
Right. And he's getting there,
much.
but he's also doing a lot of this other like textural stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So Ryan, before we get to the third clip, do you think this is a totally different sound from last year?
It's interesting. I mean, compared to New Year's, I would say you have like you basically have a combination of New Year's and spring tab tour.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken away some of the the controls that he had available to him to control the various different delays, the MIDI switch boxes, some of that stuff has disappeared. But so he has a little bit less control over the delay, but he's added that Keith McMillan 12-step that adds all that sort of background, kind of ethereal noise. If you don't know what that is, you can read about it on the site, but it's basically a trigger.
I have no idea.
So it's basically a little keyboard at his feet that he's using to trigger sounds.
Okay.
Yep. He started using it during Trey Acoustic Tour so that he could have like a bigger soundscape on stage. And then I think when it turned out that Ray wasn't going to be on the road with them for Tab Tour, he decided to bring it out for Tab Tour as well to create a little bit more sonic texture to play around with. And then it seems like he liked it so much that now he's got it out there with Fish as well. So that's a piece he brought over from Tab Tour. He lost some of the more complicated controls from Fish Tour. But fundamentally, I think what you're seeing is them driving towards kind of the best possible version of that rig that came out of the CAE rebuild last year. And they're just dialing it in tighter and tighter.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome. So the last clip that we have actually goes back to an old piece of gear that's been in Trey's rig for a really long time. That's the DM2000, which is the digital delay that is responsible for the famous digital delay loops, right? New Year's 95, a lot of stuff 94, 95.
Providence Bowie.
So drink to the Providence Bowie. Cheers. But Ryan, tell us about what we're hearing in this, which I actually think came in from a question to you. What are we hearing in 2018 with the DM2000?
Yeah, so he's using this in a totally different way now. For a long time, like you said, he used it for those loops, like the 95. He would do these big, long productions on his own where you get a lot of feedbacking sounds on top of one another. It was really funky and kind of really 80s. And then now he's just using he's always had access to these mod and hold functions. And basically what it does is it modifies the delayed tone. So what it does is it takes the delayed tone and pitch shifts it. And so what he's done is he's turned the dry sound all the way down, so you can't hear the guitar at all. And then he hits a harmonic. He has the delayed sound all the way up with this modulation of the fundamental tone on it. So you're getting like this octave dive, basically, like, and then it goes back up the other way. And he started doing this also during the spring Tab Tour, and it's like a special effect, really. I mean, it really is something that he'll just like bust out for 2-3 seconds and then shut it off and go on to something else.
Awesome. Let's go to that clip.
Thanks Ryan for your input. Thanks for that clip. Anything else you guys want to ask Ryan before we let him go back to whatever he was doing this evening?
Yeah, well, so Ryan, maybe you can just give us predictions for the rest of the tour. What do you see coming?
Oh man, that's a good way to be proven wrong.
Feel free to pass.
I don't know. I will say I've been watching a lot of the webcasts, and I've been listening on Live Fish Plus the next day, and I'm hearing really from Tahoe to now a lot of change, and I'm sure you guys are too. I mean, a lot of people have noticed the Trey tone difference with the tube swap and stuff, but I'm hearing a band that over the course of this couple of weeks of summer tour is getting really comfortable together again. You know what I mean? I know they go into this with a lot of rehearsal, but there's something about being on stage and the live experience that's completely different and unpredictable. And the last few nights, I mean, you guys were talking about Alpharetta. The second set, the first half of the second set last night was quite strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
quite strong. And so I'm hearing
quite strong indeed.
Comfort. I'm hearing a lot of composition live in the moment. I'm hearing a lot of playing in and out of one another's empty spaces, picking up on each other's cues. Just like a lot of synergy, I think that's been the trend from the beginning of 3.0 to now, And I think it's been a micro trend from the beginning of summer 2018 tour to now.
Micro trend.
Whoa. Hashtag microtrend. I like it.
Excellent. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to whatever you were doing. You can find Ryan online at treysguitarrig.com and Twitter at Trey's Guitar Rig. And Ryan, if we see any more drastic changes over the course of the tour, maybe we'll bring you back onto the next Couch Report to talk about it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Happy to chat anytime.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Bye.
Cool. So I don't really know what any of that meant, but it was pretty interesting. And I guess the point is that there's been a lot of changes in a lot of different ways that Trey's using his gear.
Well, you got a guitarist who's, 35 years into, rock stardom and is making significant leaps, not just in advance of a tour, but in the middle of a tour, tweaking things as important as what tubes you're using in your amp. So I think it's all a good sign that we can look forward to continuous progress.
That's a good way to look at it. I like the optimistic view. I mean, I don't see any reason not to be optimistic because I think it's a positive trend that we're seeing. But I can't think of any other guitar player who did this kind of thing other than maybe when Jerry switched to guitars to start using the MIDI rig for space or whatever. I mean, you don't see this kind of thing for most large arena scale bands.
Yeah.
I think it's like frustrating for
great.
some fans though because he's constantly changing, right? And evolving. So like the sound you heard in 2015, which was like a great year with a lot of awesome music, completely different from what you heard in 2017, and now you're hearing something different now. So I think people get upset.
Life has changed.
Okay, well, Jonathan is here for you. If you need fish counseling,
Life has changed, folks.
If you need fish counseling, guys,
slowly.
before we're gonna run down each of the runs so far, and we're gonna get everyone obviously to live fish by 8:00. Well, they'll come on at 8:10, but we'll end at 8, so everyone can take a break because I'm sure you're enthralled. Matt, tour MVP so far. What do you have a pick? How are you feeling?
Oh man. That's a tough question. I'm gonna say Fishman, only because of last night, I think, and we'll talk more about what happened last night as we run down the shows. But I felt like a lot of what happened last night was because of his playing, and particularly the tempos that he was driving everything at.
I think that's fair. I'm gonna go with Mike actually, and one of the reasons I'm going there is because of last night again. But I've been hearing him throughout the tour. The guy's amazing. Trey's amazing. Don't get me wrong. And I think I want to put in a vote also for Trey's Leslie.
Yeah. So you're a fan of it?
Oh yeah, always. I mean, Warren's played with a Leslie. I think that is a great thing to incorporate into a guitar rig, and I like what he's been doing with it.
Yeah.
So I'm in.
So I'm gonna go with Paige just to
be a contrarian.
I guess not choose Trey, but also I've just noticed Trey and Paige a lot, especially in the Austin second set.
Yeah.
I don't remember what maybe the first jam was. That Everything's Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I just remember like I could totally hear them going back and forth. All right, so tell us your MVP. Use Couch Report, hashtag Couch Report. Send us questions and thoughts and those kinds of things. So let's go run by run, if not show by show, real quick.
Let's do these should we rapid fire this stuff?
Yeah,
keep it moving.
Quick rundown.
Right.
I think they started about 8:05 last night. So let's.
They started like 8:13.
All right.
It was 8:08. Everybody knows it was 8:08.
Everyone knows it was 8:08.
Come on.
Let's look at the Tahoe shows real quick. So let's talk about those. I was there.
It's like a parking lot, right?
Shows run. Yeah, it's complete
sort of?
parking lot.
Okay.
So the people who are on the grounds, there's stands behind and stands on the sides like dicks, but not.
I like how you refer to them as the people who are on the ground.
No, I'm saying you can choose to be in the stands. I was in a different
highfalutin.
spot. I guess what I'm saying is that the people on the blacktop were like literally just standing on an asphalt. Parking lot.
That's good for
a
the
long
spine.
time waiting for the shows to start. But once the sun goes down over the mountains and the lake, it's amazing. It's a beautiful place. I guess the shows may go more or less like you might pass through them in the future when you're listening to shows.
Yeah.
Maybe they're certainly not the peak shows of the tour so far, but there were some good highlights. First night, I would definitely highlight the No. And second night, I would go with Everything's Right and the Ocelot, which is a really nice Ocelot.
It's a good Ocelot. Mm-hmm. What about you? Anything from those run?
Yeah, you know, it was fine. It was a tour opener. I thought that the first night for a tour opener was strong. I remember there was a great ghost.
Yeah,
in the show.
Another first night.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's one of the things. You know, you get excited about it, but then you get halfway through the tour, and it's like, yeah, that was the beginning of the tour.
That was good then.
I got to go there, and it was really cool. But the shows, I think that Everything's Right. Like the highlights you mentioned were my highlights also, and they played Down with Disease because I was there, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Fish. You can continue to do that if you want. So the Gorge was next. 3-show run at the Gorge after Tahoe. And I think it was the 17th, 18th, 19th time they played there. So most of them were 2-show runs. I think this was the first 3-show run at the Gorge.
That's correct.
Which is cool. And those, they seem to have progressed over time. The Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Sunday show. Never miss a Sunday show is what they say, but I don't know. Yeah. What were your highlights, Jonathan?
Well, so all the highlights that I'm going to give you guys as we go are from my my Live Fish Summer Slammers playlist.
That's a plug for Jonathan's playlist
that you can't hear.
Can't hear.
But you could build your own if you're paying attention. First night, the Chalk Dust, obviously, and the Simple was really good. Second night, I've got the Tweezer and the Golden Age.
Yep.
And then third night, Wombat.
Yeah, the Wombat.
Believe it or not, Wombat. So nice to see that come back and get in there.
Yesterday again.
And then Cross-Eyed, and of course Split Open and Melt. It was a crazy good Split Open and Melt. Like they have kind of been trying constantly throughout 3.0 to do a good, like almost flies off the rails sort of Split Open and Melt, which is the best kind.
Yeah.
And they don't always do it, but I feel like they really did a good job.
Cool
this one got there.
Yeah,
definitely.
And the all the terrible shit that happened there, we hope that it doesn't happen again. It hasn't so far. So if you guys are like still thinking about what we can do about, you know, stuff like that happening, well, the first is like take care of each other and, you know, help your friends. But also check out Fans for Racial Equality. They're doing a lot of cool work trying to diversify the scene and just make sure that, you know, we're taking care of each other, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And, you know, shout out to Joe and Samir. Hope those guys are doing okay. We've seen some updates on the GoFundMe and through some friends and things like that. So seems like they're making some progress, but you're still thinking about those guys and hoping that by the end of the tour they're feeling a lot better than they have been.
Just remember we're all in this together.
So we've got this history.
On the floor, but otherwise. Really, really long sweaters to cover like 8 seats, you know. But the photo that I wanted to put up here, I mean, it's a beautiful place. But it reminds me of like a place that and second night had like a couple great jams, but the first night to me like really flowed well.
More than 3 songs, and the second night is one of them.
Wow.
But night we got another good ocelot. Now, really, if you put the same, but they're both really good, and that's what we want. Right?
That
Yes.
was like a really amazing
Yes.
game.
And then look at this. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay. Super good.
Yeah.
And the possum is one of my favorite possums of 3.0 at this point. Possum.
It was a possum.
Outstanding.
It was a good possum. It was
Don't
a good
listen to this
possum.
guy.
Haiku contest winner, and then
Oh,
let
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
watch the fish band. So I should mention next time. This
Right.
venue, but I haven't played there very much. Those were really interesting shows too. I think maybe a little bit more consistent night. Well, I guess maybe not. Be the same as Pilgrim.
From that didn't make this. Don't make this playlist, but rockin' version of that song, and it really hit. A couple of the Mike songs have been a little. Oh, you know, but everybody does that.
Then you could say that it's
Cavern. And then on second night, you insert your
Reminds me of
adjective
the
here.
24
Beautiful jam by the end.
Or what real fan?
Austin for a either a potential like, or that it's like just because I think in the past few
See them in Grand Prairie. A couple. No. So the first, I'm talking about the first time that
Oh,
they
okay.
played there, which was two, both of which were just absolute snoozers, which were not the show, much a show played all the time. It was kind of like a greatest hits show, and I think down there's not a huge.
It's interesting, you know, this show is logistically, it's for the truckers to sleep.
Yeah.
This is, you know, we can't make them drive all the way to Atlanta.
on a banner.
That venue, that event.
Just
We're
sleeping.
keeping them awake by
Yeah.
bringing them on.
He is. Kind of business. They did rock out, and everything's song, you know, dissipating out. Song. I really, that segment is outstanding.
Yeah, really good.
Amazing things that happened in Alpharetta. That was my favorite 5 minutes of the tour to this point. And it
Spaceships
did-
landing during
Spaceships
that.
landing. I had this vision of like moving
came next.
Exactly. Maybe. Okay, wow, this was the spot. This is so much better. The LA Forum was good, and then
Texas, the same number of times that they played in Michigan. Fall.
Well, they will
go out. Which I understand, but I guess over time, you're.
This number that you wrote here, does that count the other night?
I think it does.
Okay, you think it does.
My stats are up to date.
Okay, if it's
All
wrong,
right, so
blame him.
Let's talk about. Everyone loves it.
Show's good.
fantastic.
A great time, and then they encored with.
Wow, I can't. So I was out to dinner, couch tour because it starts so late, but I'm still eating dinner. Kind of after the Ghost, which is too bad. But I listened to the Ghost this morning. The Ghost is outstanding.
It is.
It's big.
Ghost again.
That is really good. I mean, the freedom. I heard No Man's teases later in the show. I have to go back and write. It's set to real words.
Carini again.
Really good for them. I don't know if it's because they were well rested or maybe they just got antsy from not playing for people.
It's good to be in real time as opposed to West Coast time.
Very simple party, kind of quietly and subtly, but it was like, he was like a bull ready to.
Mm-hmm. What was your
fantastic, but the whole set.
Easing. I was listening to it on hot driving with my truck.